Hey everyone, I'm Mariana, and today I wanted to talk to you about The Devil's Candy, which is an independent horror film that more people need to be talking about. In general, independent horror has really been stepping it up, especially within the past few years. There have been some real gems within that subgenre, and The Devil's Candy is definitely one of those gems. And you can actually rent it on iTunes, Amazon, wherever you rent movies at any time because that's where it has been released. I watched it on iTunes, and thank you to those of you who have recommended this movie to me because I really haven't seen many reviews of it pop up on the internet. I've seen a couple, but really, I am surprised that it's not getting more buzz at the moment because I really enjoyed this movie. The Devil's Candy is written and directed by Sean Byrne, whose work I really am not familiar with, but it seems like I need to familiarize myself with The Loved Ones, which is his other film, and in general, he just needs to make more movies. The story in The Devil's Candy is about a family that moves into a house they just got a great deal on, but the father, played by Ethan Embry, starts hearing these strange sounds and voices. This also has an effect on his work because he is a painter and his paintings start taking on a much darker tone, let's just put it that way. Meanwhile, we also get introduced to Ray, the previous occupant of the house, who is clearly unhinged and heard the same voices that the father is hearing, but they may have driven him to kill people. The Devil's Candy immediately had my attention. This is the type of horror that I enjoy the most. There are absolutely no jump scares in there. It's all about the tension and the atmosphere. There is great cinematography, a lot of attention to details and textures. It has a very distinct color palette. It has characters that you want to root for, and it has a metal soundtrack, which, if you ask me, is a bonus. The only thing from the visual perspective that was kind of a disappointment for me was the CGI fire that happens at one point. It's not a huge deal, and you know they're working with a small budget, so it's understandable, but at the same time it's there. So if you really hate CGI fire, it happens at one point in this movie, but I can't really fault it too much for that because it's such a small detail. However, there are some really cool visual cues in there. I'm not going to go over all of them because they're kind of fun to discover on your own. But for example, the villain is this hulking giant guy who is always wearing this red tracksuit, and he definitely has a devil vibe going on from the visual perspective, whereas the father is clearly rocking the Jesus look with his hair, and obviously they are not meant to be specific representations, but they are just part of the visual storytelling, and they're part of the visual cues that the director wants you to pick up on. As far as the characters go, they could have used a little bit more depth, but once again, that's a small nitpick because there really isn't anything wrong with the characters, especially as far as the horror genre goes. The family is just the nicest group of characters that you can't help but want to root for, and you don't want anything bad to happen to them. There's a really nice family dynamic going on there, and they actually have some really nice personal moments between each other at certain points. All three of the actors definitely have a very nice chemistry together, and they have their little quirks. So as far as rooting for the good guys goes, the movie has that covered. When it comes to the villain, he's very effective as well, and because the first thing that we see, the first scene that we see, gives us a glimpse at his backstory, whenever he comes back on screen, it immediately puts the viewers on edge because you just never know when he's going to snap, but you do know that it's going to happen at some point. As far as the story itself, it's kind of a twist on the haunted house subgenre mixed with the murderer on the loose type of thing. It's nothing too crazy, but it's told in a very effective and suspenseful way, and I particularly enjoyed the way it set up certain things throughout the movie and then tied all of them in very nicely. Once again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but for example, there is this whole bit with the guitar. The guitar keeps showing up throughout the film, and then the last time it shows up, it just made me smile. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it's the fun kind of ridiculous. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I kind of really enjoyed that, even though it was a little silly. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that if you are a horror fan and you haven't seen The Devil's Candy yet, you really should check it out, because I think you're missing out. And if you have seen it, spread the word. This movie is awesome. I'm really surprised it's not getting more love. Personally, for me, I would rate it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I did have a couple nitpicks here and there, but really nothing major to complain about, and I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Please let me know if you have any other suggestions for recent horror gems that I may have missed out on. I did watch The Void, which didn't really do much for me, and I also watched The Black Coat's Daughter, which I did enjoy, but I will talk about both of these a little bit more in my wrap-up that will come very, very soon at the end of this month. But other than those two, please let me know if there are other movies that are kind of under the radar that I may have missed and I would enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye!